Welcome in to Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
Through the first 10 weeks of the season, your Bears are second place in the highly competitive NFC North, losing the tiebreaker for the moment with the Detroit Lions, but sharing 6-3 records. And Sunday, the Bears move back into the division with a battle with the Minnesota Vikings at U.S. Bank Stadium. We discussed tonight on Bears Weekly here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, we have a conversation with starting center Drew Dalman. It's Coordinator Thursday, so the latest from them, and a portion of our visit with ex-Bears quarterback Brian Hoyer from our Bears Etc. podcast, episode number 186. Dan Barilli, Jordan Treadup, Katie Fox, our producers. In studio tonight helping us out, Kendra Smith. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Tom, we begin, as always, with the injury report. Bears has a lot of guys on it, but a lot at full practice on Thursday today. So Jaquan Brisker, T.J. Edwards are the only two guys that did not practice today. TJ, of course, dealing with post-surgery on his hand. Jade Walker also dealing with a concussion. A rest day for Joe Thuney. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, shoulder, ankle, respectively. Tom, they were limited.
Yeah, it seemed like they finished the game on a high note. So I would see there's a little bit more time to get these guys ready so they can give 100% effort on game day, which is I'm fine with. And these guys are mentally locked in from the meetings they go to, the walkthroughs they're able to go through. And then whatever they're limited to in practice, I'm sure they're getting the most out of it until the game time.
6 limited on the Vikings, including Aaron Jones, who has been dealing with shoulder and toe issues, and Ryan Kelly's window to return off injured reserve from a concussion. He was limited today as well. But two big players on the line of scrimmage. One, left tackle Christian Darrisaw working through a knee. Full go yesterday, but did not practice today. Do you think that's a rest day? More important to be in on Wednesday for installment?
Yeah, crank it up a little bit and then give a day of an evaluation and then maybe get through a Friday practice that's limited to short yardage and goal line, a very little movement. Saturday to rest, play on Sunday.
And then Jonathan Grenard, shoulder in that game. There's optimism that he'll play, but did not practice these last 2 days. He is as important as anybody on the Bears' radar to defend.
Yeah, he is. He's a good football player. And like you say, every time I say the word now deployable, I think you first, which kind of
annoys you.
But just so, I think every member of that has rushing ability for a guy like Brian Flores is deployable from a lot of different angles and whereabouts.
All right. So again, conversation with Declan Doyle, the offensive coordinator at media interviews today up here at Hallis Hall with the coordinators. Always have very definitive words to say about everything offensively, but in specifics, Caleb Williams and his footwork and marrying that with his eyes, a big part of the conversation.
Your feet keep you on time, and then your eyes are evaluating, hey, is that open? Can I pull the trigger or not? If that's not there, then my feet lead me on to whatever my next read in the progression would be. And so those two things we're trying to tie together all the time. We're constantly working it. And it's something that can always improve.
Kevin O'Connell was saying yesterday that he understands just the way the world is now. Everybody wants to judge a young quarterback, not only week to week, but day to day and throw to throw. Do you agree with that, number one? And number two, how do you kind of live in that world where people want immediate feedback and that's just kind of not the way it works?
Yeah, I think it's how most of the world works is a lot of people want instant gratification for anything that they're doing. And that really just, it speaks to any profession, any job, anything worth doing. You have to go through kind of a growth process in order to get to where we want to go. We've taken that really from the very beginning and kind of preaching to Caleb that, it's a growth mindset. It's every single day we got to show up and do the work to be able to get better. Obviously these young guys have to deal with a lot of outside noise. And so that can be challenging, but just speaking to Caleb, I think he's done a great job of staying, kind of tunnel vision and understanding that this is a long process. And every day we're just working to get a little bit better. That's the biggest area of growth.
When you're teaching a quarterback to play more quickly, but also not too quick where he gets through his reads too fast. How do you find that sweet spot, and how do you teach it?
Yeah, I think it's a balance of it's play specific, but you're creating habits all the time. And so when we go out and we take a rep, you're further installing into this groove of, okay, I'm reading this concept, it's got to be game-like all the time. And so that's really what our main focus is that as we build these habits, they're right. And then when we're a little bit off course or off track, you have to constantly be open to not only like the criticism, but the correction involved in that. And that's the biggest thing. You're always kind of balancing, what do you coach? What do we need to make sure that is getting corrected? And then, that communication process has to happen.
Going against Brian Flores, I know Caleb's only taken 2 sacks, and I think there's always that perception that he's had more pressure, that's going to result in that, but it hasn't with him over his history. Like, why is that, do you think?
I think Flo is game to game as far as what he's going to show you. They've done a great job of generating pressure just as a defensive front. And so every game is a new one when you're going against him. I think that the first week, we play against them, it's different than what we're going to get this week. We're a different team. They're a different team. And so Caleb's done a good job of getting the ball out of his hands, avoiding sacks and becoming a scrambler when he needs to. Our offensive line has gotten better at some of that stuff. But really, it doesn't carry over to this game. We have to go out and execute at a high level.
So a lot of detail there from Declan, but ending on not to assume anything from Brian Flores from week 1 to week 11. What he did in week 1 may not apply in week 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different working environment. Monday Night Football in Soldier Field is a lot different than Sunday noon start in Minnesota. There's a lot of different things that you can do, especially at the line of scrimmage from the defense. And that's what, when Declan is looking at the opponent, he's looking at, what Brian Flores has done in the past, what type of analytics that you're looking at. But, it has a lot to do with what Brian Flores sees out of the Chicago Bears offense and what he wants to limit. You almost don't know what to expect out of him because he gives you a new surprise each week.
Coming up next, we have Drew Dalman from our Player Profile Sunday at 10:30 on Bears Game Day Live. That's coming up next. This is ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network.
Bears.
It is gone!
Bears Weekly.
Time expires!
A deep dive into all things Bears.
And the Bears win!
With Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer, this is the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. There's been a terrific history of great centers in this franchise. The first center to snap with one hand. Tom, do you know who that was?
Mike Pyle.
George Trafton, a Hall of Famer. 13 combined Pro Bowls for Jay Hilgenberg and Olin Kreutz. Clyde Birdog Turner, a Hall of Famer, also played linebacker. And Drew Dalman is now the Bears starting center and improving every day. A reliable, durable, steady performer for the Bears. A sit-down with the Bears center for our Game Day Live player profile that you'll see Sunday on Fox. First thing I want to dive into, believe it or not, is non-football stuff. Mm-hmm. Mechanical engineering degree. Mm-hmm. Why?
Yeah, I think I didn't know exactly what I was going to do when I got to college, but I took a few classes and really enjoyed it and enjoyed the professors, so I kind of just ran with it.
And so does this tie into how your mind works? Are you a handyman at home? Do you have this mind of almost a beautiful mind of just knowing how things work or curiosity on how things work? Is that part of this?
Yeah, I think more the curiosity. I think I really, really love to learn both, and that kind of shows up in football as well as school. And so I think I just kind of have a natural inclination to follow my interests, and it's kind of led me to a few of those things.
Did you ever have any internships in college with firms or anything like that?
I did. One was like they weren't engineering related; they were like financial things.
Okay, so the engineering is just something of a curiosity, not necessarily a passion after football or anything like that. Or we don't know.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean that. Right now, I'm just 100% focused on football. Yeah. Like I don't even let my mind drift there. But I mean, when I get there, I'm sure I'll still enjoy it.
So, do you think it has helped you at the center position, playing offensive line, as you're diagnosing and trying to diagram what they're going to be throwing at you?
I mean, I don't think anything from like the classroom directly. I think more just the tendencies in myself to want to learn and understand that kind of took me to engineering are some of the same traits that I feel like can be helpful for football. I want to learn why the defense is doing things, why we're doing things, kind of understand it as best as I can.
When you see stuff on tape, does it just come to life for you? Are you great at that, watching tape?
Yeah, I think we're spoiled as NFL players. We have an entire staff that's doing everything they can to define tendencies, to select clips and kind of pare down this massive library of footage into like the most distilled version. So I think they do a lot of the front end work, but then from there we do what we can to review and learn and kind of see what teams are going to do to attack us, what my tendencies are, what their tendencies are, and kind of what we can do to best exploit it.
What you saw on tape throughout the course of a week or the week's preparation, sometimes it just like clicks. Oh my gosh, yeah, we saw that on tape, and it's just really crystal clear that you can see it.
Yeah, there definitely are moments like that, and there's like more dramatic moments where you maybe you see the blitz or something like that before it happens, but a lot of it is, oh yeah, like we're playing against the front that our coaches predicted all week, and so the coaches did an excellent job of showing us the looks that we're going to get, and we go up there and it feels ordinary. Where I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't line up in something else. So it's a lot of credit to the coaches for that.
Now that you've had all this time with Ben Johnson, what's your takeaway, especially how he prepares new plan every week? We're going to focus on X, Y, and Z, and just what he's been able to maybe teach you as an offensive player.
First and foremost, just as a person and as a competitor, really admire him, his work ethic, his drive, all that it's not only infectious, but it's really easy to listen and follow someone that you believe is like genuine and is doing exactly what they're saying. So that's been excellent. And then, from the football side of things, excellent football knowledge, puts us in phenomenal spots and creative looks for the defense and things like that. So I feel like different ways to do core concepts is something that I feel like I've learned a lot from him.
How about Dan Roshar? Because everyone assumes, okay, you get some new players, they come with great reputations, but, it still takes time for everything to blend together. And right now, just from my perspective, it's looking really good up front. But what's Dan doing behind the scenes to stir the pot?
To the first point, we still have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to get better, and there'll never be a point where we can kind of kick our feet up and say we're satisfied.
No, that's not the way an offensive line works, or that room.
Yeah. But Dan's doing an excellent job. Another guy that works incredibly hard, does exactly what he needs to do to get us the information. And that's a tough job to prepare, 13 guys for the week. So he does a great job of curating that, and the whole staff, Kyle and Zach as well. They do a phenomenal job of creating a good room that has a working culture and wants to learn and prepare every week.
You're in your headspace at the moment. Snap to snap, you're not looking at what everybody's doing. You know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But when you watch the tape back and you see the physicality of Darnell planting a guy on his back last week, taking Shamar Stewart and driving him into the middle of next week, got me out of my chair. Mm-hmm. Or when Theo's out in front, leading a tackle sweep, Darnell, or just you and Jonah getting nasty and passing off guys, and then the steadiness and the unbelievable fundamental and technique sound Joe Tooney. Mm-hmm. Do you get a kick out of watching these five guys?
Oh, absolutely.
All together?
Yeah. I mean, it's seeing your teammates have success is like one of the most, I feel like, rewarding aspects. And then on top of that, when everybody's having individual success and we're moving the ball as an offense, we're flowing and all that kind of stuff, it feels, like a culmination of a lot of effort. So it's personally satisfying, and it just feels good to be a good offense.
This is a common question the media asks almost every day. It's like a referendum on quarterbacks, but relationship building and getting to know you. What is that getting to know each other with Caleb? Has it been something that has been easier than you might imagine, or what you expected?
It's easy. He's a great guy, great teammate. I've always been of the approach to you want it to just be a natural relationship, I don't
nothing to force.
Yeah, and you don't want to be like, we need to get super close, super fast to be better at football. You just be normal friends and teammates. And it's easy with a guy like Caleb, and he does awesome stuff for us, gets us out of a lot of tight spots and makes incredible plays. So on the football side, that's great. And then, in the locker room, he's a great guy.
So is the offensive line going on weekly dinners or anything?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Mm-hmm.
See, I just asked the defense. I don't really do that. But what has that been like, and how does that come about? Are you guys hosting? Are you going out to dinner? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, it's a mix. It goes oldest to youngest. You get total reign when it's your week. You pay for it. You choose. And so it's been a subject of some fun controversy on where you pick. If it goes well, if it doesn't go well. Yeah.
Did you have your bite at the apple yet?
I did. Yeah.
Are you at liberty to say where you went and what you did?
Yeah, we went to a hibachi place, not too far away. So it was fun. We got the onion volcano and all the good hits. So it was a good meal.
Yeah, I bet the conversation is refreshing too, because it can't always just be about ball. Right?
Oh, yeah,
how important is it to just spend time with each other in a different way to bond?
Yeah, I mean, the relationships, just like being friends with guys, makes coming in the building easier. It makes working hard with people easier when you're just feeling good about it. And then, like at the end of the day, like anybody else who works, you need to find a way to kind of blow off some steam for the next day. And so that's like a great way to mess around with friends.
I know Tom Thayer, my broadcast partner, an 85 Chicago Bear. We've talked to you about, Dad being the son of a player. And Tom asked you a great question on the radio side weeks ago, I think before the season. Who's the first call you make after a game? Mm-hmm. And it's Dad. What's Dad saying these days, if I may ask?
I mean, he's great. He's always done a good job of striking the balance of he's a true expert, but he's also, he's Dad first. Yeah. So yeah, just, good game, thought this was interesting, thought that was interesting. And then I'm always the one that's like, what'd you think on this look? What should I have done different? And he'll give great advice on that. But he's encouraging, and he's a parent first. So,
I went back and I happened to come across the night you were drafted, mm-hmm. that moment, that hug, mm-hmm. and that emotion. It choked me up. Yeah. I know it happens often, but I know you never forget that moment. Can you share that moment with me? What was going through your mind? Yeah,
that definitely brings emotion to me right now. That just a culmination of a ton of work on his end to help prepare me, a ton of effort on my end and dedication. And one of those moments where you feel like you're moving in the right direction and you're rewarded for it, and it feels like a really big validation. And that's something that I've always admired him and wanted to achieve the same goals. And so it's cool to kind of step up to the same plane, or step to the edge of it. Still, you get drafted, you still need to be able to establish yourself. But yeah, it was a cool moment.
Yeah, and you know what stuck with me out of all that? You saying thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I mean, that thank you is not just thank you for the moment. That's from a lot of parenting and a lot of leadership and a lot of show me the way. How to be a man, right?
Definitely.
Would you say that's all part of that?
Yeah, and my whole family as well. They're all, they're the ones behind the camera as well, my mom and sister. And so they've been incredible along the way as well.
You're a Chicago Bear now, and does it feel right?
Absolutely.
Drew Dalman.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everyone here, the care and effort and love for the organization, you feel it every day. And the fans are incredibly lively, rain or shine, which is awesome. And yeah,
and road or home as your line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just having a building where everybody's working incredibly hard and pulling in the right direction feels excellent.
Tommy's played all 606 offensive snaps. Sumer Sports is an analytics company. They have both Thuney and Dalman, second team All-Pros for the first half of the season. Just overall, what do you think of that conversation, and what you think of Drew Dalman so far this year?
Outstanding conversation. And Drew Dalman is a cerebral guy. He's a thinker. He's an intellect. He's intelligent. And some of the better offensive linemen I've been around, they have that type of personality. You don't hear a personality out there like some of the guys we've come across. But there's a lot of similarities between Jay and between Olin and between Drew Dalman. When you interview them, that's the tone of voice that you get from them. Super educated with a big background in the sport they're playing. So I really enjoyed it. And the more I get to talk or listen to Drew, the more I like him and the more he interests me.
All right, coming up next, we take a look at the defensive side of the ball from Dennis Allen's eyes here on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
You see
is ESPN Chicago, WNVP, WTBC, HD2 Chicago, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Bears Weekly is back, and so are Tom Thayer and Jeff Joniak on ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by Athletical Physical Therapy. Visit athletical.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Jeff and Tom with you, breaking down Dennis Allen's podium work here on Thursday. Tom, we'll be eyeballing the fifth start for J.J. McCarthy. He missed 5 games with a high ankle in a Week 2 game against Atlanta. He's had really good success in the first 2 drives of games, but then the rest of the game, it has not been as productive, just a 52 quarterback rating, and in his deep pass rating is also on the downside, only 100 passing attempts, number one. He only played 203 snaps as an NFL player right now. What have you seen on tape, the little we've seen since Week 1 of J.J. McCarthy?
You take those 2 drives in consideration, Jeff. They're scripted plays. They've gone through them verbally, mentally, physically throughout the course of the week. They kind of understand exactly how the play is supposed to be run, who is the most viable option on passing plays, how the running game was going to open up, and that's nothing more than a retreat from center with J.J. McCarthy handing off the football. But it's about those early passing games. Listen, J.J. McCarthy's going to be a good football player. He's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. And sometimes when I look at some of those early play action passes, sometimes the decisions look that they're predetermined. And maybe that's not the case. That's just a look that I get from watching tape and different angles and stuff. Like Dennis Allen says, look, man, there's going to be a lot of differences between game 1 and this, Week 11. So there's going to be a lot more commands that are going to be able to be made at the line of scrimmage. And in the 11th year of his second year, J.J. McCarthy knows this offense a lot better. So he may be able to make a change or a switch at the line of scrimmage, some type of adjustment that he wasn't allowed to make Week 1 in Soldier Field.
Well, one of the things that's different is C.J. Gardner-Johnson is a Bear, someone very familiar to Dennis Allen.
He's always had a lot of versatility, we played him both at nickel and safety back in New Orleans, and so he does have some versatility to play, a couple of different spots. But obviously where we're at right now, he's playing the nickel position and doing a hell of a job of it.
How did you know? How did you know that he would fit in the locker room so well, so quickly?
Listen, I've been with him, and my experience with him was really positive. And so we felt like it would be a good fit, and he's come in and been exactly what we thought he would be, and been a good addition for us.
Why do you guys connect your personalities so well, do you think?
Say our personalities are different.
There's something there. You guys connect so well. Like, what's the secret?
Look, it really just goes back to, I was in New Orleans when we drafted him. We were the first, group that got an opportunity to coach him. He had success with us in the system. And I think there's a trust level, on both sides. I know exactly what we're getting in the player. And I think it's positive, and I think he understands, how we're going to operate and how we do things, and, really can appreciate that. So I think really, as with every relationship that anybody's ever in, okay, it starts with building trust. And then from there it goes with communication, and have an open dialogue in terms of what's expected in all different, in all different situations. And I think he trusts that, what we're asking him to do and what we're telling him that, we need to do is the right thing to do. And so I think it's just been, it's been good.
What makes him such a good blitzer, and what's the key to someone his size timing up a blitz the correct way?
Yeah, I think it's really just he's a good football player. He understands how to play the game, and that's, when you play the game of football, there's certain rules and certain things that you're supposed to do within each call on the defense, and yet football players have to make decisions on the football field, and that's an instinctual thing, and I think he does a really good job of that.
What are some of the biggest differences you've seen from the Vikings offense from week 1 now going into this week 11 matchup?
I don't know. I don't know that I've seen just a ton, of difference in terms of what they're doing schematically. Obviously Jordan Addison being back is a big addition for them. Quarterback's got a little bit more experience now than what he had when we first faced him. So, but I don't see a whole lot schematically that's a lot different from what we faced in the first game.
Do you feel like you're a different defense, 10 weeks later?
Yeah, and yet I still feel like we're a growing defense. I don't think we really have even scratched the surface of what I think we can be. And so, but I do know, where we were in week 1 to where we are now. I think there's more of a belief in what we're doing and a little bit more confidence in our squad.
Dennis has done, in my opinion, a really good job, given that there have been a lot of injuries, and no one can complain about injuries. Every team deals with them, but they have yet to really play their starting defense as they put down on paper for week 1. Kyler Gordon's only played a couple of games. T.J. Edwards has been out of the lineup. Obviously, Jalen Johnson played 20 snaps. You lost 2 defensive ends, Dio Adengbo for the year with an Achilles, ACL for Shamar Turner. So he's really had to come up with a variety of different packages of players, really going deep into that defensive roster right now. Tommy, are you impressed with what he's been able to throw out there and this team lead the NFL in takeaways?
I really am. Yeah, the takeaways are a result of what you can do up front or the anticipation that the coaches have already put into the heads of the defensive backs and linebackers before they ever played against the team that they're playing against. To me, it's his reconstruction of the defensive front. When you go up there and you need a big package or you need a fast package, and you got a big package that includes Chris Williams playing defensive end, you got Andrew Billings in there, you got Jonathan Ford in there, and then you can put any other defensive lineman in there from Dexter to Sweat to Booker, and they complement those big guys really well. And so his creativity and thinking outside the box with defensive line personnel, I really appreciate it out of this front.
We mentioned it in our podcast. Austin Booker played 83% of the defensive snaps last week. He's young, Tom. He can do it.
Well, he's young, fresh, and he's talented. The thing about Austin Booker, if he wasn't talented enough to do it, he would not be fed this many snaps. But because I think they are, I'm a little bit surprised on how well and physical he can play against the run. I know he's got the ability to be a pass rusher with a big arsenal, but he's good against the run.
All right, coming up next, Brian Hoyer, the former Bears quarterback, joins us from our podcast, Bears, Etc., earlier this week. It dropped here on today, actually, this morning. So good conversation about Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy. It's coming up next here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears production on the flagship home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy. So Brian Hoyer entered the NFL in 2009, backing up Tom Brady in New England, the beginning of a long journey for pretty much a backup quarterback who did make some starts for the 2016 Bears and had a magical run in 2014 for the Browns. 4 game-winning wins on drives that he was at the helm. Now an analyst role for the Patriots preseason broadcast, doing his own podcast with one of his former teammates, David Andrews. He likes what Caleb Williams is doing, and he analyzes the play of second-year Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy.
So I look at a guy like Caleb, one system last year, a new system this year. What is his foundation? And hopefully now with Ben Johnson there, this will become the foundation for his learning of offensive football, of the terminology, and hopefully, obviously, for Bears fans and the NFL in general, like you hope this is a long-term duo and they can continue to build on it, right? Because each year – you feel a little more comfortable and you feel a little more comfortable. And then you get to the point where you've had enough continuity and now you can start building, right? The one thing I always tell people, they ask me obviously a lot about New England. What was the difference? Well, when you have the stability at the head coach position and the quarterback position, it's a trickle-down effect, right? So when you start OTA 1 in 2017 for the New England Patriots, you're not installing your base system. You are the guys who are coming in, whether it's rookies, free agents, they got to catch up to the guys who've been there. And so literally we would start in the red area on OTA 1, whereas most teams, I'm sure Ben Johnson this year, installing a new system, OTA 1 is literally just the building blocks of what he wants to do. And so each year you can stack, the more you can grow, and then you get an advantage on the teams that are maybe having to reinstall things. So it's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but continuity to me, and it's something that our game is lacking because we want results right now, right? And people get fired after 1 year, quarterbacks get moved on from. That's why you're seeing a resurgence of a Sam Darnold, of a Daniel Jones, of a Baker Mayfield, of guys who maybe were cast aside, and now they find themselves in a good, stable landing spot. They're able to produce, and now they're like, oh, well, that's, of course, they were a first-round pick, but somewhere along the line, it got too difficult for them.
You lived in a space Caleb's living in right now with come-from-behind wins in the fourth quarter. You had a stretch in Cleveland that was magical in 2014, won 4 one-score games with fourth quarter game-winning drives, which Caleb has already done this season. Do you, in those moments, as you stack them, the level of confidence from your teammates in you, your coaching staff in you, and then your own, is it reach a level that you feel almost insurmountable?
Yeah, I think, look, the name of the game, especially at the quarterback position, is confidence, self-confidence. And confidence comes from preparation and then execution. So you can prepare all you want, but if you don't have the results, it's kind of false hope, right? But when you prepare and then you have the execution and you pair it and you stack those together, now when that moment comes up, you're like, all right, I want the ball. I'm ready to do it. And you saw it last week, obviously not just with his arm, but with his legs. And so, look, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. Like I said, the throw wasn't even a completion, and I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, like not many guys can do that. And just in general, when he throws the football, it pops off of his hand. And so it's just a process of getting better and learning from Ben. And now you've got a good group of skill players around him. You got a Dunze, and you got Burden, and they drafted Loveland. Like, you can see the blueprint that Ben Johnson's taking from Detroit, right, and now bringing it to Chicago. And so, they did a lot to invest in the offensive line in the offseason. They understand they have a talented young quarterback. Ben believes that he can get the most out of him, and they're investing in the players around him as well.
Kevin O'Connell does a great job with quarterbacks. He's got J.J. McCarthy right now off of injury, back and working back into his preseason readiness. What are you seeing from them right now from your scouting eye?
Yeah, I mean, just up and down, right? J.J. McCarthy, the first game of the season, he goes to play the Bears 3 quarters, doesn't look great. All he does is go out in the fourth quarter and have pretty much the quarter of his life and come back and win the game. And then a few weeks ago, go into Detroit, beat Detroit, had a lot of big-time plays. And then last week, just doesn't look comfortable, right? There was some good throws where he got the ball to Hawkinson or Addison or, even Jalen Naylor, but there's a lot of times, especially throwing to Justin Jefferson, it looks very forced. And so I would expect that the Bears try to make sure that they have different looks to give him, disguise the looks, make him read the play after, because the one thing I would say about McCarthy is when he holds the ball, good things don't end up happening, right? I think you see him double clutch and everything wants to be, let me fire it into a spot, and it doesn't work out. And that's where you end up getting those turnovers. And then when you go to the flip side, I know Brian Flores from my time here in New England, that defense is hard to handle, right? And so that's going to be, to me, the matchup of the game is Brian Flores against Ben Johnson, and it's going to be a chess match because B-Flow does such a good job of exotic looks, pressure looks, then people are dropping out. All of a sudden now here, they're all blitzing from one side. And so for Caleb, he's going to have to be so aware of when he gets a blitz look, he's got to see which guys are dropping out. We would always say when you're going against B-Flow in practice, if you have a blitz, you have to be so careful about throwing the ball over the middle of the field because somewhere, somehow, someone's popping out. Is it Van Ginkel? Is it those guys, those Swiss Army knife players that the Vikings have? And so I think that'll be the matchup that really determines the outcome of this game.
When you look at the divisions around all the NFL, AFC, NFC, the NFC North has gained a lot of respect, with what Detroit is doing, what Green Bay is capable of doing, the emergence of the Bears and New England or Minnesota and stuff. Do you have a feeling of the toughest division in the NFL right now, or, how do you see it?
No, I think you're right. I think the NFC North and the AFC West are probably the top two, right? You mentioned those teams, and I think, last year in particular, that NFC North when the Vikings had Sam Darnold, and I'm wondering if they're questioning that decision now to just let him walk, right? When you see him playing the way that he's playing up in Seattle, but I think in the North, you mentioned it, you got the resurgence of the Bears, you got Green Bay, and you got Detroit. And the Vikings are kind of lingering there. Like, what are they going to do? And really it's on JJ. And then when you look at the AFC West, I mean, it's possible the Chiefs may be a wild card team, as crazy as that sounds, because that Broncos defense looks incredible right now. The Chargers look really good. The one thing with the Chargers is how long can that offensive line hold up to protect Justin Herbert? It was probably so crucial that they beat the Chiefs in week 1. So those to me are got to be. And then look, the NFC West has kind of always been one of those ones that's how's it going to go? And then you watch the Rams last week, and I think they could be the best team in football. And then you look at the Seahawks, and, they're all the way out there in the Pacific Northwest. We don't get to see them a lot, but Sam Darnold is playing incredible. And so, I think that's another division that has two really strong teams.
What is your opinion of Ben and how he has gone about his career?
I've always admired Ben, and a lot of times you got to remember this in the NFL. No one's reinventing the wheel. And so, what's the biggest thing you do on Tuesdays? You go around the league and watch what other people are doing, and you take ideas. Okay, can we incorporate that? And you've seen that for years in Detroit, right? I think, wasn't it last year he did like the little fake fumble and threw it up to the seam to the tight end? He stole that play from us. I ran that at Michigan State a long time ago. I'm going to take credit for that. We faked a fumbled snap, and I hit Kellen Davis up the seam for a touchdown, former Bear. But no, I think you see how innovative he is and how sound his offenses are. I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of marrying of the run and the play action, and when you can get those things going, it's a very hard offense to stop. But you hit it on the head. Why are those divisions we just talked about so tough? We got to start with the head coaches, right? And so, in the North, you got O'Connell, and you got Ben Johnson, you got LaFleur, and you got Dan Campbell. I mean, these are 4 of the top coaches in the league, at least in the past several years. And then when you go out west, you got Andy Reid, you got Sean Payton, you got Harbaugh. And look, ultimately, I know it's been a down year for the Raiders, but Pete Carroll's a great coach too. And so when you have that guy in place, and then you compare those guys with a good quarterback, I mean, you're always going to have a chance. And so I think that's what you see with a lot of those teams.
So one more question for me, Brian. So you look at Ben Johnson, you look at the Bears. 2 weeks ago, double reverse pass touchdown from DJ Moore to Caleb. And then he inserts Tyson Bagent, lines him up as a wide receiver, lateral pass, throwback. And so Jeff has called these designer plays, where in my era, they are always trick plays. But we're seeing them a lot more in college and in the NFL. What title would you give them when you look back at your career to where these plays are inserted now?
Yeah, we would call them our exotic package. We would have a package, and I'm kind of referencing most of my time with Josh, and there would be a little part on the call sheet, and I'm sure Ben's the same way. He seems to really enjoy them. I mean, I think those are something that if you feel confident, if you can rep it in practice a few times and feel good about it, I mean, there's no reason that you shouldn't incorporate those. You should always make the defense be on their heels. And so I love it, especially when they can be executed really well. And ultimately, when a coach calls one of those plays, if something were to go wrong, I mean, you look at back, what was that against the Cowboys, the flea flicker, right? I mean, what an insane throw by Caleb. But I think to me, what that shows is Ben has confidence in his players that you scheme this play up. It's supposed to be a trick play or an exotic play or a designer play. But if things don't go the way you planned, are they going to make smart decisions with the football? And so every time they go out and execute it, even if it's not maybe how the results you wanted because you don't hit the reverse or you don't hit the throwback pass, if they take care of the football, it gives that coach a little more confidence to call it the next time.
Tom, that's just a snippet. We invite you to the podcast because a good half hour of a good quarterback conversation, what it's like. If you're in an established program with a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or a Phillip Rivers or a Matthew Stafford, and you're a young quarterback coming in or coming on off the street as a veteran, they're not reinstalling all the beginnings of the baby steps of the scheme. You're going to have to pick that up before you even take the practice field because they're way, way into the 10th chapter of this plan. That's really interesting to me. I never once thought that through.
It was more of a discipline to sit there and open up your binder, because that's the era that I grew up in, than it is to carry around your tablet with you, and you can go anywhere. As long as you have electricity or it's charged, you can look at video, you can look at still shots. It's so helpful. So a lot of times you can learn a lot about a player's commitment by what they know before you tell them what they need to know.
Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Tom's thoughts coming up next in our final segment here on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer chatting about the Bears. It must be Bears Weekly.
Well, if it's Bears Weekly,
it must be the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Before we get to Tom's thoughts, a word from Richard Hightower on special teams. A big rebound game, in his opinion, last week in the come-from-behind win.
Yeah, I saw a resilient group. They did what I thought that they would do. They would fight back. It's a prideful group. They work their tails off. They know there's a high standard, and they know they're living up to a high standard, which has been the standard here, and obviously living to a higher standard last year. And every year is a different year, but they know they got to live up to a high standard, and our standard is not going to change. So I was proud from that standpoint that the guys responded in the way that they did. Now, are there things we still need to work on and more impact plays we want to make? We still want to make more plays, so we'll never be satisfied. But they rose to the occasion. Obviously, they weren't going to do that again. So I was proud of them for that.
What did you think of Cairo's kickoff off the pylon?
I loved it. I loved it. I wish he'd do it every time. Yeah, no, it was sweet.
Sorry, this is your last indoor game, I think. Do you like being able to have 7 outdoor games all in, November, December, January? Do you feel like there's an advantage to you guys having the experience in the cold weather and maybe some of the other teams not?
Yeah, I definitely looking forward to this game. First of all, this the first one. This the only one that matters. Getting our first division win is what we got to do. So looking forward to playing in the indoors. And the second part of your question, of course, like we love it. The outdoor weather is bear weather. We embrace it. We love it. So when we get to that stuff is what we're built for. And we built for what's happening in the fourth quarter right now. We're built for that type of weather, and we're built for adversity. So we want to just keep rising up through all of this stuff and show what our football team's made of.
Richard, Miles Price is one of the better returners, and I know he had a rough game last week. How do you approach somebody who's that inexperienced coming off something that Ravens clearly capitalized on? Do you see opportunity to, if a player's in that situation to get a jump on that? How do you view that?
Yeah, you view it. You watch the tape. There's good tape. Obviously, outstanding tape with Miles Price, even from preseason. I thought Miles, if you remember, the last time we played these guys, I said that I thought he was going to be a really good returner for years to come. In that, and so far, that's held true with what he's doing. He's a really good player. He had a touchdown call back already this year. Had a 61-yard kickoff return. He's had several big punt returns. So you just show the guys the tape. You show them the good, and you show them the bad. Here are opportunities that we can capitalize on. Here are things that we got to eliminate. Here's things we need to be aware of. Here are tips or reminders when this happens with this player. All right, we got to have this leverage and go to work from there. But it'd be a good challenge for us. We got a lot of respect for their unit. We got a lot of respect for the player Miles, and then they've acquired a lot of good talent on special teams now. It's a different unit this year than it was last year. They're doing a really nice job.
It's going to be an every week battle, Tom, because special teams has become significantly. I know it's the third phase and all that, but people almost use that as a time to just go get yourself some popcorn, or not anymore. It's just too complicated, and too many things, good or bad, can happen on special teams.
Right. Well, basically, it's the most unpredictable portion of football week in and week out that we don't know a lot about until the game is over. And then when you have our statistician, Doug Coletti, he calls the punt the biggest play in football. And that's part of special teams. So, yeah, Coach Hightower understands his role, the importance, but he's got a lot of respect for the way the players rebounded, and I'm glad he does.
Certainly was important last week on the shank,
Yes,
the
sir.
shank punt, because the pressure that he was facing from Hightower's unit, probably was living in his head a little bit. It occupied some space. They didn't bring the pressure. They showed the pressure on the last punt, but it gave the Bears a perfect setup for a game-winning touchdown.
Well, we didn't know how the kickers and punters were going to react to less than perfect, climate conditions. So something like that could happen. Fortunately for the Bears, it happened, and the Bears capitalized on it.
All right, Tom, you ready for your thoughts?
I got a lot. I know my thoughts.
All right, use what you know that you didn't know. Please help me.
Okay, so we go to Soldier Field for that Monday night game, and we got a list of a paper, and we says, what don't we know about the Bears? Okay, you don't know how the offensive line's going to play. You don't know how Caleb's going to play. You don't know how the running back game is going to be distributed because you had Monangai and Roschon Johnson that were hurt. You didn't know if Theo Benedette was going to play left tackle yet. He didn't play left tackle. You didn't know how Colston Loveland was going to. So what I'm saying is there's so much about the Bears because of Ben Johnson, his coaching staff, that we didn't know. And we didn't know a lot about the Minnesota Vikings because J.J. McCarthy is getting ready to start. How is he going to act on the road? What is Brian Flores going to do? Is he going to blitz? Is he not going to blitz? So there's a lot more analytics and experiences that have seeped into both teams since week 1. Now it's week 11. So if you figure something out from that game that you know that you can repeat and use again, maybe out of a different formation, a little bit different motion, then use it again. If you think there's a vulnerability on the front of the Minnesota offensive line that maybe you can take advantage of and put JJ in an uncomfortable position, take advantage of it. So what you didn't know week 1, you know now, but how will you use it?
You can make a living under center on the road. Is that better to go under center?
Well, what I'm saying is when you go on the road and you're in shotgun, then you use a nonverbal count. It's hand gestures, feet gestures, whatever the case is, how you ignite the center. If you are on the road and you're under center, you still use a verbal snap count. The Bears in the passing game, they have 86 passes, 54 completions, 63 completion percentage, 3 TDs, 1 interception. But what I'm saying is when you play a team like Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings, if you want to be able to give verbal commands, you can do it under center no matter what the circumstances are. Go back to Ken Anderson. He never played out of shotgun in his career. And you're able to see the line of scrimmage. You're able to interpret what type of pressures they're going to be. Caleb has got great peripheral vision, whether it's pressure or the possibility of a blitzer coming. So what I'm saying is when you go into this environment, it's okay to be under center. It's not like because you're in this environment that you have to go shotgun all the time. So if you have more plays under center than you do at shotgun, it's all very doable.
All right, so this is the last indoor game for the Bears. So it's going to be an interesting late November, December schedule. So what's your advice?
I mean, I have no advice. Just get loose. Take advantage of it. Be warm. Run hard. Stretch it out. Because every single game that we are going to be playing in uncertain weather conditions, if it's brutally cold, you're never going to stretch out like you are in warm weather conditions. You're never really going to be able to open up, to let loose, because there's always going to be something in that freezing weather that holds you back a little bit. So enjoy it, man. This is going to be a Sunday noon start. You know, conditions are going to be perfect, dry and warm. So take advantage of this game and really let it go.
And I'm sure it's still living in their minds. They had an 11-point fourth-quarter lead at home in Week 1, and the Vikings came back with 3 drives by J.J. McCarthy, 2 touchdown passes, and using his legs for a third to squeak out a victory. In that game, prior to that, they had 7 3-and-outs. The Bears were doing a lot of great things. Again, what happened in Week 1 is not necessarily going to impact what happened in Week 11. It may not appear to matter at the moment, but then as you now start talking about the P word and all those things, golly, you have regrets. I'm sure in your career you thought of a couple of plays during a season when you didn't go to the playoffs or you didn't go further in the playoffs. Like, doggone it, if we just would have hit 2-3 more plays, we're sitting pretty.
100% in some of the biggest games in my career. NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers where they came into Chicago and beat us. And you think of plays in that game that are haunting enough to, keep you from being in a Super Bowl.
All right, Tom, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for listening. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. Thanks to Kendra Smith in the ESPN studios. Our Bears producers, Dan Barilli and Jordan Tredup. Katie Fox as well. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. This has been Bears Weekly on the radio home of the Chicago Bears, ESPN Chicago. ESPN's Amber and Ian are next. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.